how does the board really know what's going on? And more to the point, can we learn from the past? So in the past, kings and queens would have royal advisors. So they would talk to their peer group, but the royal advisor had the advantage of being able to go in and talk to people at different levels across the realm. And this is a little bit like a risk manager in the modern world. So the first time I learned about this idea of kings talk to kings was when I worked for the Royal Bank of Scotland. And as part of my role with the Royal Bank of Scotland, I was an infrastructure project manager. Basically, so Fred Goodwin would go out and buy a bank or an insurance company or such, and then part of my role was to integrate that into the environment within the Royal Bank of Scotland. It was quite a stressful role, and as part of that role, I decided I would try something else just to get a break. And I went to HR, and HR said that they had a role within internal audit. It was a secondment for 6 months, and that secondment was to be an internal auditor for the technology side of things. So I went off and did that role. And as I said, I did it for about 8 months, and then I returned back into the project management world. And when I came back, what I noticed was where I would talk about best practice and advice and give it to senior management in internal audit, if I did the same thing from a project manager's point of view, that advice wasn't always taken. So I went back to my head of audit and I said, look, what's going on here? And he said it's a thing called kings talk to kings. So I don't know whether you've heard that phrase before. But what he was basically saying is that at a senior management level, so director, C-suite, board level, they're going to talk to their other peers. So a lot of their information that they're going to gain is from that same peer group. What the internal audit function was doing was the same thing as a royal advisor. So it could go into the business, it could look at the controls, it could identify where the issues are and bring that back to the board so the board could make a decision. And in my 20 years of working in audit and risk, the one problem I see with that is that as an internal auditor, there's a very them and us approach. And certainly within the banking sector, this is because if you've got a red audit, potentially that impacts your bonuses. And so there's very much an idea of I need to defend my position. When you work as a risk manager, you don't have that impact, so you're not going to cause them to lose a bonus or anything. And so it's very much a us and us approach, and it's seen as us adding value to the business and helping the business to succeed. So is the risk manager the new royal advisor? And I would say yes, if used properly. So if you use risk managers as a way of identifying things where you want a little bit more information or you want to get assurance that something is working, then they are the right people to call to. And I'll give you an example of this. So I worked for another major bank as a technology audit manager, and as I did the audit, we went in, we looked at the cybersecurity function, and there was a problem there, and this had gone through a couple of layers of governance and not really got any further because it was going to cost far too much to get fixed. And so there was a view that actually there was no point raising it higher because the budget just wouldn't be available. So as part of our audit, we wrote up the issue and took the issue to the board. And when the board looked at it, they immediately said, here's 150 million, go and fix it. If you need more money, come back to us. So you can see here, for the board, it was massively important to get that information because they knew the value of that information. But because there were so many layers and filters up to the board from the reporting cycles, they never had visibility of it. So the risk manager is able to give you visibility of things that maybe you wouldn't be aware of, and they can give you a level of assurance over whatever you're looking at. So I would say the risk manager really is the new King's advisor. So why is this important to the board? So if you look at the way regulations are going, now what happened, the regulators are essentially saying senior execs are now financially accountable for their actions and potentially criminally liable for their actions. So my question to you as a board member is, do you want those things to appear as a surprise, or would you be better off using risk managers to help you to prevent those things happening in the first place? So I hope this is making sense to you, and I hope you're finding it useful. If you want help with how you can make your risk function more like a royal advisor so that you get more value from that risk function, feel free to DM me, or if you want to, I'll drop my email address in the description, and you can send me an email. I'm happy to kind of help out and see if I can make your risk function a lot more valuable to you as a board member.